Hi, I'm Alyssa Vincent with HeaveMedia.com. And since it's for the rather confusing year in news, I've decided to put together a top 10 list of the worst cultural happenings of the year. So, without further ado, here we go. At number 10 is, I don't want to break anyone's hearts, but I'm not sure if you heard that a guy named Michael Jackson actually passed away this year.
That's true, in one way.
When Michael Jackson, the greatest pop artist of all time, died on June 25th, 2009, the entire media industry collectively shit its pants for at least the next 3 weeks.
Oh, excuse me. We gotta go to break.
Now, the strangest part of this whole affair was the awkward tightrope that the newscasters were forced to walk between saying, wow, this guy was a great artist, and he was probably one of the most talented musicians of our time, and acknowledging the fact that he really disfigured his body through a series of unnecessary operations and possibly, maybe probably, molested terminally ill children in Neverland Ranch.
That's true, in one way.
So the most common solution they came up with was calling him troubled, which says, man, he was kind of weird while he was alive, but it's wrong to speak ill of the dead, so let's say troubled and just move on to the next story. Speaking of odd relationships with children, at number 9, we've got Jon and Kate Gosselin and their adorable little brood of 8.
Hi, Stinky Winkers!
Let's be honest, have two people fallen any further this year? People, and let's be honest, by people I mean women, used to absolutely love this couple on TLC. And in less than 1 year, they probably became two of the most reviled people in this country. I think it's safe to say that Hitler squandered less goodwill during his time. The natural segue from Hitler is obviously into number 8, which is the Twilight Mania. Just like Justin Timberlake brought sexy back in the earlier part of the decade, Robert Pattinson brought sparkles back for us in 2009 with Edward Cullen in the second installment of the Twilight saga, New Moon. Now, if New Moon has taught us anything besides the fact that sparkles and slightly abusive relationships are now the new thing to have, it's that werewolves in the Pacific Northwest love to work on their tractors without their shirts on, just like Heave staff writers are known to do. And now for a slightly more somber topic, at number 7, we've got Bernard Madoff. In 2008, then presidential candidate Obama became a symbol of hope and progress for people who wanted to believe in both. However, in 2009, Bernie Madoff became the embodiment of the reckless greed that defined Wall Street's contribution to the current recession. Now, in case you didn't know, he conned thousands of people out of a collective $65 billion in a massive Ponzi scheme. Dick move, Madoff.
So by taking the human being out of the equation to a great extent and turning it over to a computer to make the decision, I guess you could also program the computer to violate a regulation, but we haven't gotten there yet.
And from one dick move to another, we've got number 6 and the healthcare debate. Now, conservatives don't really give a shit about what happens as long as you're not gay and trying to get married, and liberals only want to do things in the most ass-backwards, least cost-efficient way possible. So listening to both of these congressional parties bicker back and forth about an issue predicated on lies was like watching two dogs fight over an old sock. The only difference, though, is that when dogs fight over an old sock, millions of people don't die from curable diseases because they can't afford treatment, and hundreds of billions of dollars aren't wasted on a really lousy piece of legislation. I say, tomato, tomato. At number 5, we've got Rod Blagojevich. Now, this wasn't news at all to anyone who lived in or around Windy City, but the people across the nation were shocked, I tell you, to find out that Chicago politicians are actually quite corrupt. I was more worried about the hair alien that currently resides on Blagojevich's head, waking from its slumber and destroying our planet in a devilish plot. And speaking of devilish plots, we've got the Octomom, Nadia Suleman, coming in at number 4 for this year. Thanks to gals like Nadia and her, fellow fertility gal, Kate Gosselin, this kind of abuse of drugs became the new it addiction to have in 2009.
I screwed myself. I screwed up my life. I screwed up my kids' lives. What the heck am I going to do?
And we now have to move on to number 3 and some infidelity in the golf world with our good friend Tiger Woods. Now, I could really care less about what Tiger Woods does and who or who he doesn't sleep with, though it seems like he pretty much sleeps with everyone now. Rich people do some odd things, and having sex with people that are not your wife or husband is not the weirdest things that you could do.
Pretty trippy, actually. It's a very interesting experience because usually I don't play as myself.
What I thought was more weird, though, is the fact that Tiger Woods actually expected that people would not question how the back window of a giant SUV he was driving got smashed in during a low-speed, front-end collision with a fire hydrant. I mean, the people of America are dumb, but they're not that dumb. And speaking of the people of America, we've got to move on to number 2 with the recession. It basically sucked to do anything that involved money or employment this year. Congratulations to the graduates of 2009. People alternately said, though, that the credit and housing markets had bottomed out from their 2008 freefall, or that the collapse of our financial institutions heralded a Leviathan-esque return to humanity's natural state in which we eat our neighbors and use their hollowed-out bodies for warmth. If Heave wishes one thing for 2010, it's that everyone who is struggling right now has a chance to get back on track. Though it's going to be difficult to get back on track if this goddamn swine flu won't leave us alone. At number 1, we've got the one and the only H1N1 virus. The swine flu pandemic, which, let's be honest, it was changed to H1N1 after a bunch of crazies started killing pigs everywhere. This pandemic was a lot like SARS or the avian bird flu, in that it existed somewhere between serious concern and a media freakout. For all of the news coverage of the story, there was a disconnect between what officials were saying, which was that swine flu is a strain of animal flu that originated in swine, mutated, and transferred to humans. It's more potent than the regular flu because human immune systems are not used to fighting this strain, so it could affect a large number of people, even those who are healthy. And the message that people seemed to get, which was, oh my god, we're all completely fucked, everyone's gonna die, if you cough on me, I'm gonna kill you, and then I'm gonna die. Still, I have to say, I like anything that makes it socially acceptable to wear those fashionable surgeon's masks while walking down through crowded international airports. So there you have it, the official Heave Media list of the top 10 worst cultural news stories of 2009. Be sure to check back in with us come 2010 for, I'm sure, another batch of awful, horrific stories that'll make us not proud to be Americans or really existing on Earth.